So another busy week here at the shop. We are getting ready to paint the bottoms. We're actually painting one of them now. The 1937 Deluxe, it's going to get a red bottom. So that is going to take multiple coats. For some reason, red coats very hard, and you have to use multiple coats. Sometimes up to like 4 coats. This bottom over here, that takes about 2 coats, because what we've done is used barrier coat. So we use a 2000E barrier coat, and that is to protect the wood. We don't rely on the paint to protect the wood. We use a barrier coat. And we use anywhere to about 3 to 4 coats of it, and then we sand it with 220, and then we apply our paint of choice, whether it be the red for some bottoms, green like in Garwoods, and then also the copper bronze, which most people see on the antique boats. With the copper bronze, when you use that paint, you don't want to really tip it, roll and tip with a brush, because it leaves a lot of streaks. So what we try to do is we try to weight the roller on one side, which creates a line, but every time you move over, it gets rid of that line. It's very difficult paint to actually achieve a perfectly nice color on it, just because it has a lot of solids in it. There's a lot of stuff in the paint that helps it to not so much be anti-fouling, but it almost has like a copper base to it. So there's stuff in the paint that just doesn't mix completely. So the paint that is usually used on the copper bronze is a Pettit product. It's 1959, and that is the hard racing copper bronze bottom. It's what the factory used for a long, long time. Probably a little bit different chemical makeup, but for the most part, this is the same color they've been using for years. So I wanted to share this with you just because this is one of the questions I get asked a lot, is after you get the bottom 5200 bottom done, what is the next step? And I'm sure I've covered it in the 5200 bottom video, but this is the process. Basically, you fair the bottom, then you barrier coat the bottom with 2000E, and then you apply your paint. Not like I said before, not relying on the paint to do the work as a barrier coat. And that leads me to some other questions that I've been asked frequently, and I thought I'd share those with you. The first one is, how am I related to the Chris-Craft family? I don't know if I've mentioned that very much, but my great-great-grandfather was Christopher Columbus Smith, who in 1874 built his first boat and then went on to start Chris-Craft. My great-grandfather was Bernard Smith, and he had a daughter, sons and then 2 daughters, and then one of the daughters is Irene Smith, and that would be my grandmother, who married Jack Green, and that's how I got basically the name Green, my last name, and not Smith, although I've been called Smith a lot. My last name is actually Green. So another question I get asked often is, how did I get started? I did build boats with my grandfather in Charlevoix, Michigan. When I was young, he would find a project or else work on stuff for other people, and just to help fix their boat and keep it running. And so at an early age, I got exposed to that, and we just had wooden boats all over the place all the time, which I didn't think anything of it, I went in the military after high school, spent 3 years in the Army, and I had some friends that lived out in Vail, Colorado. I had been skiing since about the 5th grade, and so I decided to go out there and ski with them. Dabbled in a little bit of ski racing, got into the skiing industry, and that's where I worked for quite a few years. I had lived in Montana and Sun Valley, and ended up out in Gresham, Oregon, right at the base of Mount Hood. And I was working for a ski department out there as a buyer and manager, and that store, chain of stores, closed down and was sold. And so I was out of a job, and that had happened to me a couple times. And so I decided to get into some boat building, and I went down to a boat yard and talked to Alan Thompson, a guy that a friend of mine knew was building a Huckins, was restoring a 56-foot Huckins. And that's where I kind of got my start. I also worked for another gentleman, Dave Jerome. He was a boat restorer, and started in with him. That went on for about 3 or 4 years, and I got a call for doing work on my own, and that's when I decided to go out on my own. And I still helped those guys over the years, but I had my own business, Maritime Classics, and that was almost 30 years ago. It's been a great experience. I had great mentors early on, and it just was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it, and I still enjoy it to this day. So another question I get asked, are these your boats? And the answer is no. I can't afford to have this many boats and do this really. So I do own a boat. I have a Commander, a 35-foot Commander. I don't at this point in time have a runabout. I've had them in the past. I've had a 59 ski boat, a 16-foot resorter, a Lyman. So I've had quite a few different boats over the years. But none of these boats are mine in here. They're always customers' boats in here. I don't like to mix my own work with the shop work. So another question I get asked is, how long will the 5200 bottom last? That is a good question, because we don't know. I don't know. First 5200 bottom I did was probably about 25 years ago. And I'm pretty sure that one's still okay. I do have a customer though that I keep in touch with that has a bottom that we have done, 5200 bottom, 20 years ago. And that bottom, she tells me, is still like the day we did it, and it still doesn't leak. So in my opinion, it'll outlast me. So that's why we do it the way we do it, is the longevity you'll get out of the bottom of a brand new 5200 bottom. So another question I get asked often is, what other boat building YouTube channels do you watch? There's a few of them. I like Acorn to Arabella. That is about building a sailboat. Although they're done, it's very unique because in the beginning, when he started building it, he didn't have any skills in wooden boat building. And he also built it on his grandfather's property with wood from the property. So that's pretty cool to see. Also, Samson Boat Company, the building at Tally Ho. Really good channel, probably one of my favorites. He's restoring a sailboat that's over 100 years old and rebuilding the whole thing and using old techniques. And so that's very interesting to watch. And you learn a lot. I mean, I learn in here, but I also learn from videos like that. These links to these channels are in the description below, so if you want to check those out. Another one is Ship Happens. That's a good one. They're restoring a motor yacht for themselves to use, so that's a very entertaining channel. And the Duracell Project. That is a couple that's restoring a racing sailboat that's raced around the world, and he is rebuilding that for a family cruiser. All right, I hope you've enjoyed this style of video. It's a little bit more on a vlog style, and if you do enjoy that, then leave in those comments below. If you have any more questions, leave them in the comments as well, and maybe I'll get to them in a future video, and we will see you back here. Bye.